Because I got 2 photo day camps coming up today, I've got to cook 2 recipes. Now the first one we just finished was the pulled pork sandwiches that we let cook all night. The one I'm preparing right now is for tonight's workshop, which is a night sky workshop. So we're going to be out in the dark a lot. It's going to be cold out tonight. So I've got to fix them something that's going to warm them up inside and keep them ready to go all the way up till midnight. So I've decided I'm going to make a homemade chili today. And it's a pretty simple recipe. I'm going to start with browning 2 pounds of ground beef. And then once that's browned good, I'll add some yellow onion to the mixture, as well as some green bell pepper. Okay, I've got my oil heated up. Now I'm just going to add about 2 pounds of ground beef. I always like buying them in these tubes. You don't have to buy the premium stuff for this chili. And so plus it makes it easy to handle. You got to remember, anytime you're handling meat, you got to be really careful in terms of cross-contamination. And so these tubes makes it easy to handle where you don't have to get the meat on your hands. And then it's easy just to store away, and you don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Okay, so now my ground beef is brown. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit. I've drained the fat off of it. I'm going to return it to the heat. And then I'm just going to mix in these onions and bell peppers that I've pre-chopped. And just let all that stuff kind of cook together for just a couple of minutes. So that way they can share flavors with one another. I think I'm getting my pan a little bit full, but that's all right. That looks pretty already. So I decided to switch everything over to a little bit bigger pan that has higher sides. I was afraid that other pan, I wasn't going to be able to get everything stirred together without making a mess. But I mean, that, you can see I diced the onions. I just kind of rough chopped the bell peppers. But by the time these things cook down over 6 or 8 hours, there's just going to be little bits of flavor in there, and I guarantee you everybody's going to enjoy this. Look how pretty that looks already. So you only need to cook this mixture until everything is soft, and I think we're getting there now. The onions are starting to get a little bit shiny, so that tells me they're getting soft and ready to go to the next step. And there's one last thing, and I always add this right at the end. Add 4 cloves of garlic. Now, I'd like to tell you I grew this garlic in my garden this year, but that's just not the case because our garden didn't produce garlic that well. We'll try again this year. We didn't make much garlic this year, so I buy the pre-minced garlic in a can or in a jar, and that just makes it pretty easy to spoon it out. So the next step is to transfer all this into the crock pot. If you notice on the last recipe, I love using these crock pot liners. You know, once you dump everything in there and you're done using it for the day, you just pull the liner out. There's no cleanup at all in the bowl, and it's ready to use for next time. So I always advise using those things. So we're going to add the meat and the bell peppers and the onions and the garlic into the crock pot. Then we're just going to dump all the other ingredients on top of it. So at this point, it's just a matter of dumping all these canned products into the mixture, getting it all stirred together. And these canned products are easy to find at the local grocery store. We've got some tomato sauce, we've got some diced tomatoes, some kidney beans, beef broth, some chipotle peppers, and then we're going to add a few seasonings like the cumin, the chili powder, salt and pepper, the normal stuff you'd add to chili. And then all this stuff is just going to stew together all day long in this slow cooker. And so really, aside from the tomatoes, just drain all the juice off of them, pour the tomatoes in all at one time, and that way you'll have a little bit of juice to it. But the rest of them, the kidney beans, everything else, just drain the juice off of them as you go. So now it's time to mix everything together. You can see here I've pre-mixed all my seasonings, and I'll include this recipe in the description below, but it's not an original recipe. I actually got this from the Pioneer Woman's website, Ree Drummond. And so I've actually been up to her place in Oklahoma. It's pretty remarkable if you've never been there before. But anyway, we mixed all the seasonings together. It's pretty simple mix: salt, pepper, oregano, cumin, chili powder, That's it. And then the beautiful thing about this recipe of all the ingredients we're going to add to it are all pre-measured out. So all you have to do is buy the cans from the grocery store, open the cans, dump everything in there. So we're going to start with these diced tomatoes. Leave the juice in it. So we're going to pour all those guys in. And then the next thing we're going to add are our 3 cans. I did actually drain these of kidney beans. I love the texture of kidney beans. That's why I prefer those. You can make this with pinto beans if you want to. I love the texture of kidney beans and the way they just kind of feel in your mouth. And then we're going to add an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. This is going to be good. Then after that, I'm going to add a 14-ounce can of beef broth to the whole mixture. You can see the liquid starting to come up in that thing. And then I've got some, got to dig a fork out of here. I've got some chipotle peppers in this adobo sauce, and so I'm going to dig those things out and add a couple. There's one more. Add those to the mix. We can pick these out later. They're pretty sizable. This is just going to add a little flavor to the whole mixture. And then, yeah, why not? We'll just add all the juice and all. So now we've got a pretty formidable mixture. It's almost filling this crock pot up, so everyone will have plenty to eat tonight. So I'm going to grab a spoon, mix all of this up together good, add my seasoning, and then turn on the crock pot and let this thing go for the rest of the day. What I like about this chili too, it's going to be a big chunky chili. It's going to have a good sort of mouthfeel to it when you eat it. Make sure with your spoon you get down on the bottom and get all this other stuff mixed up. Now I'll come back to the day and check on it from time to time and make sure, you know, I'll continue to mix it as the day goes on. But right now, I wish you could smell it. It smells wonderful. It's all cold, but by the time this evening rolls around, we'll be ready to roll, and this will be really, really good to eat. So now I'm gonna set my slow cooker on low heat for about 8 hours and just let it go throughout the day. Again, I'll check on it every now and then and just stir it up, make sure all the ingredients are getting all married in the crock pot good. But for the most part, that's it. I mean, it took maybe half an hour for me to prep all this. And the longest part, the hardest part was the first part, was browning the ground beef and mixing the onions and the bell peppers in with it. But once I'm done that, it's just a matter of opening cans and dumping all the mixture together. So this is kind of a classic chili potluck, and it's gonna be really, really good when we're done with it.